This is a film about the people the world forgot. Made in a country the world forgot. And it is one of the most human films. Belgrade, 1998. Serbia is emerging from a decade of war, international sanctions, economic collapse, and a kind of exhaustion that doesn't have a clean English word for it. Not just tired, worn through. The country has been written off by the world. History moved through it like a flood and left, taking the resources and the hope and the international attention with it. And into the wreckage of a decade, arrives Zdravko Šotra's Lajanje na Zvezde. Barking at the Stars. A dark comedy about the forgotten people of Belgrade, the ones who fell through every crack the system offered, the ones the new Serbia, being built around them, has no room for. It will make you laugh. And then it makes you sit quietly for a long time afterward. Lajanje na Zvezde, to bark at the stars. It is a Serbian expression for doing something completely futile, raging against something so far above you, so indifferent to your existence, that it cannot even hear you. And the film asks the question that every society that has ever collapsed eventually has to answer. What do you do when the world stops caring about you? What is the alternative to barking? Stay with me, because Shotra's answer, quiet, funny, heartbreaking, completely unexpected, is one of the honest things in world cinema. Let me tell you about the people in this film. There are the drifters, men and women with no jobs, no prospects, no clear place in the world being reconstructed around them. They exist in the gaps between what Serbia was and what it is trying to become, in a space that has no official name and no social safety net. There are the dreamers, people who still have ambitions, impractical, beautiful, slightly absurd ambitions, in a country that has no room for dreaming anymore, who still wake up every morning with some idea of what their life could be, and spend the day watching the gap between that idea and reality stay exactly the same size. And there are the survivors, the ones who have simply endured, who have outlasted everything the decade threw at them through sheer, unremarkable, unheroic persistence, not because they are strong, because they didn't know what else to do. Zdravko Šotra watches all of these people with extraordinary warmth. He never condescends to them, never uses them as symbols of national tragedy, never turns them into political statements about what happened to Serbia in the 90s. He simply watches them, the way Desika watched Umberto and his dog, the way Ozu watched the Hirayama family on their journey to Tokyo, with the full, patient, unsentimental attention that is the rarest thing a filmmaker can offer. And he trusts you to love them. Within 20 minutes you do. Now I want to talk about the laughter. Because this film is genuinely, consistently, sometimes outrageously funny. Not in the polished way of a well-funded comedy. In the rougher, stranger, more surprising way of people who have learned to find humor in situations that have no other redeeming quality. Serbian cinema has a long tradition of this. If you have seen Ko to Tamo Peva on this channel, the 1980 film about a bus full of strangers heading toward a fate they don't know yet, you already know what I mean. That film made you laugh for an hour and then broke your heart in the final 30 seconds. The comedy was not a distraction from the darkness. It was the darkness wearing a different face. Lajanje na Zvezde does the same thing. Every joke in this film carries the weight of everything these characters have lost, every absurd situation, every moment of dark humor, every scene that makes you laugh out loud. Underneath it is the full, specific, unspoken grief of people who have been failed by their country, their system, their century. The funnier a scene is, the more it costs you afterward. That is the specific skill of the greatest dark comedies. They make you laugh first, and then, when your guard is completely down, they show you what you were really laughing at. And you sit with it. 18 years before this film, Ko to Tamo Peva put a group of strangers on a bus and sent them toward history without telling them what was waiting. Lajanje na Zvezde is set in the aftermath of what happened. Same country, same dark comedy tradition, same stars, still just as far away, still just as indifferent. And the people are still barking. I want to step back for a moment and talk about what it means that this film was made in Serbia in 1998. Because you can watch Lajanje na Zvezde and enjoy it completely without knowing any of the history. The characters are universal enough, the humor is human enough, the warmth is generous enough that none of it requires context. But the context changes everything. The 1990s were a catastrophe for Yugoslavia and then for Serbia, in a way that is difficult to compress into a few sentences. Wars that the international community watched and then intervened in, too late, on terms that satisfied the diplomats more than the people. Sanctions that hurt the ordinary population far more than the leadership. Hyperinflation, isolation, a decade of being the country that the world pointed at as an example of everything going wrong. By 1998, Serbia was exhausted in a way that had no political solution. The damage was not just economic or infrastructural, it was something more interior than that. And Šotra made a film that year about the people living inside that interior damage. Not a film about politics, not a film about war, not a film about who was right and who was wrong in the decade that just passed. A film about the drifters and dreamers and survivors in a Belgrade courtyard. Because the political films, the ones that name the catastrophe directly, have been made. They will continue to be made. History will eventually sort itself out into narratives that people can point to. But the film that shows you what it felt like to be an ordinary person in that city in that year, surviving, dreaming, barking at stars that cannot hear you, that film is rarer. That film is this one. And here is where Lajanje na Zvezde becomes something beyond Serbian cinema. Because as every society has its forgotten people, every country has the ones who fell through the cracks while history was happening somewhere else. The ones who don't appear in the political films, or the war films, or the films about the powerful people making the decisions that shape everyone else's lives. Šotra is talking about Belgrade in 1998. But he is also talking about every city, every year, every margin where people are living, lives, the world has decided not to pay attention to. That is why this film matters beyond its borders. That is why it deserves to be seen. Serbian cinema has produced some of the most extraordinary films in the world, a tradition of filmmaking that is dark and funny, and politically charged and deeply, stubbornly human, and almost entirely invisible to international audiences who have never been pointed toward it. Lajanje na Zvezde was made with almost nothing. No international distribution, no festival circuit presence that put it on the world cinema map, no critical consensus that told the right people to pay attention. Just Zdravko Šotra, a cast of remarkable Serbian actors, and a courtyard in Belgrade full of people the world had decided didn't matter. And somehow, from those materials, in that city, in that year, he made something that contains more warmth, more honesty, more genuine affection for the people it depicts than most films made with 100 times the resources and 100 times the attention. I am not sure when exactly this film broke through for me. It might have been a scene I cannot fully describe without spoiling. A moment of such specific, absurd, tender human behavior that I laughed and then immediately felt the full weight of these people were living. Or it might have been something simpler. The way Šotra's camera lingers on a face a beat longer than you expect. The way the film trusts silence. The way it looks at the forgotten people of Belgrade and refuses, absolutely refuses, to look away. To bark at the stars is to do something completely futile against something that cannot hear you. This film is proof that it is also sometimes the most human thing you can do. I am the Wandering Cinephile, and I will see you in the next film.